In 1935, Eirik Sundvor, a Norwegian journalist, traveled to the Soviet Union to capture striking photographs of everyday life in Moscow during a period of rapid industrialization and urbanization. At the time, Moscow was undergoing significant changes and developments as the Soviet government pursued an ambitious industrialization campaign aimed at catching up with the industrialized nations of the West. One of the key economic plans of this period was the First Five-Year Plan, which aimed to increase the output of heavy industry, such as steel and coal. This period in Moscow's history is often referred to as the Stalinist era, as it was marked by the brutal dictatorship of Joseph Stalin and his efforts to transform the Soviet Union into a modern industrialized state. One of the most significant developments during this time was the construction of the Moscow Metro. Although the idea for the metro was proposed in the 1900s, construction did not begin until 1932. The Moscow Metro was designed to provide reliable and efficient transportation for the city's residents while also prioritizing practicality and aesthetics. It became a symbol of the Soviet Union's technological advancement and was celebrated for its grand architecture and beautiful mosaics. Despite the challenges of the Stalinist era, Moscow's residents adapted to the changes and continued to live their everyday lives, as captured by Sundvor's photographs. The Moscow Metro, with its grand and imposing stations adorned with marble, granite finishes, intricate mosaics, and sculptures, opened its first line in 1935. Today, it is an essential part of Moscow's infrastructure, with millions of people using it every day. During the same period, the construction of the Palace of Soviets, intended to be the tallest building in the world at 415 meters, was underway. The building was meant to be a symbol of the Soviet Union's power and modernity, and was to house the country's government and other important institutions. However, the palace was never completed, and today, the site is home to the Cathedral of Christ the Savior, built in the 1990s. The 1930s in Moscow were also a time of significant cultural development, with the city serving as a hub for artistic and intellectual activity. Moscow was home to many of the country's most notable writers and artists, and the decade saw the production of many of the era's most famous works of literature and art. The city also had a thriving theater scene, with many new plays and performances staged during the decade. Film was also a popular medium, with many classic films, such as Sergei Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin, produced during the era. However, the 1930s were also a time of great hardship for many Muscovites. The policies of the Soviet government, particularly those related to collectivization, resulted in famine and hardship in many parts of the country. Despite these challenges, the people of Moscow adapted to the changes and continued to live their daily lives, as depicted in Eirik Sundvor's photographs of everyday life in Moscow during this time of transformation. Many people in the city struggled to make ends meet, and the government's harsh policies towards dissenters led to widespread fear and repression. Stalin's purges in the late 1930s led to the execution of many prominent intellectuals, artists, and political figures, further cementing his grip on power and leading to a climate of fear and paranoia.